The Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce serves the interest of its members through numerous programs, advocates for a free and open market economy in Afghanistan, and endeavors to strengthen U.S.-Afghanistan economic relations. AACC's annual U.S.-Afghanistan Business Matchmaking Conference is the world's leading event for promotion of the private sector, business matchmaking, and investment in Afghanistan. AACC works to ensure that Afghanistan's economy and employment of the Afghan people remains a top priority for the U.S. and Afghan policymakers, and serves as a link between business and government to encourage progressive economic policies that will result in increased business, job creation, and investment between the U.S. and Afghanistan. We believe that peace and stability can only be achieved in Afghanistan through the success and growth of the private sector. It is the goal of AACC to promote the exchange of information and provide resources to its members through investment conferences, seminars, networking events, publications, and other avenues to stimulate U.S.-Afghanistan business and investment. The Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce, facilitating U.S.-Afghan business, investment, and trade ties.
At this point, I'd like to have Mr. Atiqullah Nusrat, CEO of Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries. He has been working with us for many years, first as the deputy, and now as for the past almost 4 years as the CEO of the Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries. I'd like to thank him and his colleagues to always be a good partner where they support us in Afghanistan, where before this conference, a few months before, we tried to go and attract companies to participate and listen to them. Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce has played a major role in getting us in helping prepare for this conference. So if you could come and talk on behalf of the private sector and give us the perspective on the private sector and economy from Afghanistan. Mr. Atiqullah Nusrat.
Thank you, Lutfi Saib. Excellencies, Minister Mastur, Professor Faruqi, Ambassador Moheb, distinguished government officials, respected private sector members of US and Afghanistan, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Today, I'm going to reiterate on what has been said by the government officials rather than talking about the challenges as a private sector representative. And I will have acknowledgement and I will share experiences of the private sector in enjoying the reforms or the developments you have heard from our previous speakers. First of all, I would like to thank AACC leadership, in particular Chairman Lutfi and Jeff Greco, for putting together another important business-to-business matchmaking conference and bringing the private sector of both countries together. And also would like to express the best wishes of Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries to all participants. These business matchmaking conferences have repeatedly reminded us about the importance of business and investment in sustaining and improving Afghan and US people's relationship. While for 1.5 decades, security and politics were making the headlines of reports about the US engagement in Afghanistan, a group of pragmatist and forethoughtful people have been meeting and planning for a very different aspect of this engagement, the private sector and investment. Such initiatives have encouraged us to sow the seed of healthy, market-based and viable economy that should grow up and replace the current mainstream economy fed by the money that comes from donor-funded contracts. These conferences help us create joint ventures, attract foreign investments, find business partners, buy machineries, and acquire expertise and modern technologies. Several reform initiatives such as one-stop shops and Afghan First program or Afghan First policy were either initiated or supported through these conferences. There are many success stories in investment, exchange of knowledge and expertise that are achieved through the matchmaking conferences between Afghanistan and the United States. As you heard, His Excellency President Ghani, now we have an improved business climate and investment opportunities in Afghanistan. National Unity Government has implemented a number of key reforms to remove or reduce barriers to investment and doing business in the country and encourage private investment in priority growth areas. The Afghan government has approved some important strategies and policies in key sectors, such as open access policy for fiber optics, which allows private investment on the expansion of fiber optics and gain access to the regional and international networks. A comprehensive roadmap for the mining sector has been approved by the High Economic Council, which paves the road for private investment. You will hear more about this from His Excellency Deputy Minister Sadat. And more importantly, the National Export Strategy, along with 7 sectoral strategies of marble, saffron, carpet, fresh fruits, vegetable, and dry fruits, has been developed and approved by the High Economic Council. Ladies and gentlemen, government has put the export promotion on top of its agenda, the leadership of the government. You might have heard about the initiation of air cargo to promote our exports to India. Air cargo initiative has been a very successful one. Since July 2017, we have operated 75 flights, and through these 75 flights, more than 2,500 metric tons of export items has been exported to India. And of course, it had a significant contribution to the overall export promotion. Our total exports has 46% increase as compared to the one of last year. And of course, mainly the air cargo is one of the tools to contribute to that. Last year, only fresh fruits we have exported to India is 10 times more than the fresh fruits we have exported last year by air cargo. Considering the success of this initiative, the government is planning to partner with the private sector to establish new corridors to Gulf countries, Central Asian countries, and Turkey. Very soon, within less than 2 months, we will be having our first consignment exported to Turkey by air cargo. We have been working on that. So in addition to the air cargo, there are so many other facilities which could be utilized for promoting exports. During the last 2 years, we have had great achievements in terms of getting connected to the markets. I can talk about the railways being a significant opportunity. Fortunately, again, within less than a month, we will have our first consignment to be exported via railway through Uzbekistan to Kazakhstan and China. As per the agreement between the President of Uzbekistan and Excellency President Ghani, Uzbekistan is going to consider a special treatment for our exports through their territory. And of course, the Lapis Lazuli corridor is another platform through which we can export our goods all the way to Europe and through Turkey to European markets. And you will hear more on Lapis Lazuli corridor from Mr. Srouj. Meanwhile, as it was mentioned, in recent years, we have seen legal reforms and several laws in growth sectors and areas with high potential for investment are approved, including insolvency law, LLC companies law, electricity law, public-private partnership law, banking law with a dedicated chapter for Islamic financing, and accountancy law. I'm sure the implementation of these laws will significantly contribute towards improving our ranking at World Bank's doing business indicators. Additionally, new and modern facilities for daily business operations also were introduced, such as establishment of the one-stop shop for business licensing with streamlined procedures and reduction of the incorporation fee from 35,000 AFs to 100 AFs. One-stop shop for the construction permit, and the recently established one-stop shop for export procedures at the Kabul International Airport with the support from US government, particularly USAID. With the establishment of these one-stop shops, the amount of time required to get the work done and documents processed is reduced from weeks to days and from days to hours. Dear investors, there is huge potential and tremendous investment opportunities in various sectors in Afghanistan. I don't want to go into details of all these sectors because our previous speakers talked about that, but I'm going to share the private sector's involvement in all these opportunities. Talking about energy, you heard lack of access to power has always been a major business obstacle, and the private sector at the London conference asked the government to open up the energy sector for private investment and establish an independent sector regulator. The government acted on this reform priority. It passed the electricity law, which allows for the first time ever private investment in energy production and relevant services, and is in the process of establishing an independent regulatory authority, which will further facilitate and regulate private involvement in this strategic sector. Currently, the electrification rate in Afghanistan is very low. About 80% of our electricity is being imported from neighboring countries. Therefore, the demand for domestically produced energy is very high. Estimates show that current Afghan market can absorb electricity generation worth $500 to $900 million per year. You heard the benchmark His Excellency Ambassador Mohib mentioned you about 3,000 megawatts of electricity up to 2020, which will not only make Afghanistan self-sufficient, but of course in the next coming years, it turns the country into an energy exporting country as well. A public-private partnership modality that allow risk-sharing mechanism and any investment shall be guaranteed with purchase power for agreement for 20 years is already in place. The country's power generation potential is high, especially in renewable energy. Afghanistan can produce 23,000 megawatts of hydropower, 120,000 megawatts of solar energy, and 80,000 megawatts of wind power. So, as practical experience, we have so far witnessed 3 major investments by 3 different companies on energy production. Gazanfer Group, Bayat Power, and as well as the 77 construction company of Turkey. As you heard, His Excellency the President mentioned about the total amount of the investment. And very soon they will be starting the production. Telecom and fiber optics is another major sector with great investment opportunities. Again, at the request of the private sector, the government approved the open access policy. This new policy will allow private firms to build, own, and operate their own fiber optics. The fiber optics was a state monopoly previously. That monopoly has been broken. Recently, ATRA has signed a contract with 3 leading telecom operators for approximately over $350 million contract in investment on fiber optics. So you will hear more from Dr. Azizi about this. The internet penetration in the recent years has dramatically increased with the introduction of 3G, and upcoming rollout of the 4G will expedite the process further. Afghanistan has also some of the best quality marble in the world. I still remember years back, the Italian ambassador to Afghanistan was talking about Afghanistan's white marble, saying that in terms of quality, it's even better than the Carrara marble of Italy. So, however, the domestic production of marble is currently very low and lacks the economy scale. The domestic and regional demand for marble used in the construction industry is growing. So there is a huge opportunity for investors to invest in this sector. Construction sector has always been a sector with tremendous opportunities. Again, you heard His Excellency the President talking about the prefabricated housing. For the first time in Afghanistan as a new concept, the investment by a Turkish company called WEFA has been done. It's going to contribute both to the value of construction, and also in terms of cost and in terms of time, it's going to help a lot in building houses or school projects. Food processing and packaging is another sector that attracts investment. There is an urgent need and great investment opportunities in standardizing of trade logistics associated with food processing and packaging, certification, cold storage, and management. The government is working with the private sector, private investors to scale domestic production, especially high-value crops such as saffron, pomegranates, grapes, and etc., and also medical herbs to meet the domestic demand and to promote exports. As you all know, almost anything produced in Afghanistan will have duty-free access to the potential markets. So this is another great opportunities. So investment in any sector will have a very high return. In terms of regional integration or regional connectivity projects, I don't want to talk a lot, but one thing very important I want to mention is we have started establishing the RECA Chamber of Commerce and Industries. The concept was approved during the last RECA conference back in November in Turkmenistan. Mr. Soroush is here and he will give more updates. And we are about to establish a secretariat within the Chamber of Commerce and Industries in order to create a virtual network to bring the chambers, the head of the chambers from 20 RECA countries to discuss the private sector's involvement and participation in all these regional projects like TAPI, CASA 1000, and TAP. So this platform is going to help a lot, and of course it's going to give leverage or contribute towards the better conduction of the RECA conferences on an annual basis. In conclusion, as the CEO of Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Industries, the apex private sector organization, I would like to ensure that there is a political will with national unity government to address the concerns of the private sector, and we are enthusiastically looking forward to see more practical steps in materializing the promises made by the government. The market is open for everyone who wishes to invest, and we're looking forward to see you investing in Afghanistan and support us to tackle poverty, unemployment, lack of proper infrastructure and services, which are the major contributors to the ongoing security problems. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. A fruitful conference in 2 days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atiqullah Nusrat. That was a great presentation.